Good morning, Tampa Bay. What is going on? Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. Obviously, I appreciate everybody who is tuning in across all of the multiple platforms that we broadcast live from. We've got a good show lined up as always. I mean, I write the show; it's got to be good, right? Um, Obviously, the Buccaneers had a scare yesterday at the first joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. Robert Hainsey went down, was carted off. We're going to talk about that. Nothing big, nothing to worry about, guys, but we're going to talk about it and we're going to figure out some things and try to dissect and look into the crystal ball and see if we really need to address any of these issues that the Buccaneers could see in the future, because this is definitely something that they need to be very cognizant about, and they need to kind of make sure that they've got everything sewn up, because you don't want to go into the season shorthanded already and then have something happen like Robert Hainsey could get a cramp in the middle of a game while Ryan Jensen is out, and you're already with your backs against the wall. Before that, you had Robert Hainsey going down. Now we're talking about a little bit of trouble. We're going to talk about how the defense looked and how the offense looked as well from yesterday's joint practice. And who are the most annoying fans? Who are the most annoying fans in the NFL? This has been taken off. This has been taken by storm across all social media. We didn't create it, but you know how we do it at Channelside Sports. We talk about the stuff that you guys are talking about because we are fans just like you. And then a lot of the offseason additions that all of these teams made, the Chargers come to mind first and foremost. Were the Chargers, who is the best addition for the Chargers, or just in general? And then I'm going to give I know some of you are going to hate this, especially if you're watching it live from one of the Rays groups. I'm giving the Rays a 2-week notice. I think this next 14 days are make or break. I think this is realistically what sews it up for the Rays in terms of their playoff hopes, in terms of finishing the season strong. I think that the Rays are going to be, I don't want to hand them the pink slip, but I want to give them their 2-week notice. I don't want to put the pink slip in the envelope and send it off for, when they get their page. We don't want to do that. But I will tell you, you better watch out if you're the Tampa Bay Rays, because it's about to get real scary real quick in the position that they're in right now. And I don't know if they can overcome it. And I think that's where the big issue is for the Tampa Bay Rays. Is I don't know if they can overcome the issues that they have. But let's start it off. Robert Hainsey yesterday, joint practice, gets carted off. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's tweeting about it. We tweeted about it. Oh my God, he's carted off. Turns out just cramps. It's going to be fine. Not a hamstring. We thought it was a hamstring at first, but it's not a hamstring, and that's fine. But this has to be your wake-up call. This has to be your wake-up call if you are Jason Light, if you're Bruce Arians, if you're the Glazers, if you're Todd Bowles. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are on the Buccaneers payroll, this has to be a wake-up call of, okay, well, what happens if, right? You always need to plan for the best, but prepare for the worst. If Robert Hainsey goes down in the middle of a game, I talked about this briefly at the beginning of the show. If Robert Hainsey goes down with cramps at the beginning of the game, let's say against Dallas in week 1, if Robert Hainsey goes down with cramps, who's going to play center? Are you going to move Aaron Stinney over to center and put Luke Gadecki in Aaron Stinney's slot? Aaron Stinney's never played center. Are we going to start, rotating guys more often in training camp and in practice and joint practice today? Are we going to start doing that to get more guys acclimated with the cadence of Tom Brady? with the pre-snap signals of Tom Brady, with reading defenses. Because you got to remember, is it doesn't matter if you're a guard or a tackle, you're reading defenses differently than the center is. That's what makes Ryan Jensen good, is Ryan Jensen is able to read the defenses, which makes his other linemen thrive better because he's able to call out stuff. Tom Brady's calling out potential corner blitzes, safety blitzes, whatever. And then you got Ryan Jensen over there, and he's doing the same thing. That's what makes Ryan Jensen's presence. That's what makes his presence so good, is his ability to call out and read defenses. Is Robert Hainsey going to be good at reading a defense? We don't know. I don't know. There's no possible way. And this is where you always find out about like somebody's mentality in terms of like, do they mistake their own opinion for fact and things like that? Robert Hainsey, we don't know. So if you're going to sit here and say Robert Hainsey can't read a deal, you don't know that. You can't possibly tell me that if Robert Hainsey can read a defense after 31 snaps last season as a rookie when Ryan Jensen unexpectedly went out. You can't tell me that he knows or he doesn't know. He's essentially a rookie. You can't play 31 snaps and then consider yourself not a rookie in your second year. He's essentially a rookie center going in week 1 against Dallas. And for an unknown amount of time. Obviously, we saw Ryan Jensen yesterday. He's got the cast on the knee, in good spirits. And apparently, we've got actually a pretty good diagnosis, and it's not as bad as we thought. But word is not official yet. This is from a source of mine. I know we all have sources, right? But here's the thing. Even still, even if let's say Ryan Jensen misses 6 weeks. If Robert Hainsey goes down, the Bucs offensive line is in trouble because they don't have anybody who's played center. You got to remember, Hainsey, sure, he's kind of played all over the line. He's played guard, he's played center, but he played a lot of center in college. And he's also the only lineman on the Buccaneers currently outside of Ryan Jensen who has any experience at center in an NFL game. Shaq Mason, none. Donovan Smith, none. This is what it's going to boil down to, is you're going to have an issue if Robert Hainsey cannot overcome. You have to prepare. You have to prepare. I'm not saying you need to call JC Treader and offer him $8 million, try and get him to come down and chase a ring. I know there's probably some sort of bad blood there because of the Antonio Brown situation and Treader being the player rep for the NFLPA. I totally understand that, right? But you have to be realistic and you have to prepare. Even if you get another like an unproven guy. Look, the Buccaneers, their coaching staff, their scouting, they're very good at finding diamonds in the rough. Remember when you all hated Donovan Smith? Remember when Donovan Smith was here with Jameis Winston and Donovan Smith was the reason why Jameis Winston was bad? I remember that. I remember writing articles several times about fans react to Donovan Smith's blown tackle and posting them on BucsWire. I remember at least 3 instances where I did this. How's he now? Donovan Smith is very good now. Tristan Wirfs is very good. Shaq Mason is excellent. Aaron Stinney is the only real question mark. But Aaron Stinney also played in the Super Bowl. Like Aaron Stinney's got experience. And maybe he's there's always going to be a weak link on an offensive line. It's not possible to have a sure thing on offense where everybody's grading 100 from PFF, right? There's always going to be a weak link. And your weak link could be a 96. And that's realistic. but that's still your weakest link. So you've got to be cognizant that, okay, look, Aaron Stinney, he's the weak link. That's fine. But he's also not a center. You can't tell me that we're going to take Aaron Stinney, who is pretty easily, I would say, even I'm not sure if I would say that Aaron Stinney is more of a question mark in his position than Robert Hainsey is at center. I think Robert Hainsey is probably still the biggest question mark on the offensive line for this team, just due to the fact that he lacks the experience. But I'm not. There's just I just really want the Buccaneers to figure this out. You know how I always harp on figuring out the quarterback situation for next year? That's got to take a backseat, right? The quarterback situation's got to take a backseat right now. We've got to make sure that we are looking at what is directly in front of us. And what is directly in front of us, guys, is the possibility of going into the season with one center that's healthy on the roster, one center that is not healthy and unable to play for X amount of games, maybe the season, maybe half it. We don't know exactly how long Ryan Jensen's going to be out, but he is going to be out for a period of time. That is the bottom line. Outside of Ryan Jensen, there's Robert Hainsey, and then there's nobody else who has any center experience in the NFL. You've got to make sure that you do a CYA. You've got to cover your ass when it comes to this, because you're going to be in for a rude awakening. That 54.9% that ESPN gave the Buccaneers in terms of making the playoffs, that's about to get real quick, real fast if that happens. Real quick, real fast. Good Lord. Real. It's going to get very real, very fast. So you've got to make sure that you're covering it. It's going to be a horror movie real quick if you don't. And I'm not trying to say this to scare people. I'm trying to be proactive. I'm a proactive person. We got word of things that are going on around Tampa yesterday. But we're the original. That's all you got to remember. Channelside Sports is your original, your first and only digital sports brand right here, born and bred in Tampa Bay. Carlton Davis was locking down wide receivers yesterday, namely Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill caught one of 3 passes yesterday. Now, I know that there's that video of Tua completely missing Devontae Parker on a slant route, but like, actually that was a post that he ran. Sorry. But the 3 that were those were catchable targets, right? Like they weren't drops by Tyreek Hill. They were just fantastic defensive plays by Carlton Davis. And I said it yesterday on the show. I said it last Friday as a hot take. I've been all over social media saying it. Carlton Davis's sole focus in the offseason was to be a ball hawking cornerback that can pick off the ball with ease. Carlton Davis will finish in the top 5 in interceptions this season in the NFL. Period. And we saw exactly what it's going to look like. Here's the thing. It's joint practice, right? It's practice. I'm going to sound like Allen Iverson here for a second. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice. But you still, this is the first, this was day 1. You want to show everything that you've got. Tyreek Hill has been saying that we are going to be the fastest duo in NFL history between he and Jalen Waddle. We're going to be the most prolific wide receiving duo. How did you look yesterday? You can't tell me that you went on social media and you were running your mouth and you were saying you're making these claims, and then you only went 50% in practice. You can't tell me that that's a thing. Your first joint practice, you want to show up and you want to show out. You know that there's a lot of media there. You've got all the Bucks media, you've got all the Dolphins media, you've got the national news, like you've got all of these outlets there. You're not going to show up to your first joint practice half-assing it. I can assure you of that. And let's be real. I think Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle probably are one of the top 5 duos in the NFL. They're by far the fastest duo in the NFL. Like, that's not even a question. But I definitely think that they're a top 5 duo in the NFL. But realistically, it relies on Tua. Is Tua going to be the quarterback that the Miami Dolphins need? Who knows? I think I think Mike McDaniel can take care of that and he can make him look good. But we realistically and truly, we don't know. And we're not going to know until midway through the season, the end of the season, something along those lines. But I think yesterday what we saw was different. You know, Coach Goodwin said it on Sunday. Todd Bowles said it yesterday. I'm sorry, on Monday. This is for when joint practices come, like you get tired of hitting your own teammates. You get tired of playing against your teammates, and you welcome the transition of a team coming in. This is what you want. You want to have another team come in. Whether you're going 110%, 100%, 80%, it doesn't matter, but you want other challenges. Chris Godwin, you know what he's going to, you see him every day in practice, right? It doesn't matter who's covering. If you're Carlton Davis, Jamel Dean, Sean Murphy Bunting, it doesn't matter, but you see him every single day in practice. You know his tendencies, you know his body language, you know what to expect from Chris Godwin. And that's the part that is the most important, is when you're getting Jalen Waddle, Devontae Parker, Tyreek Hill, when you're getting these other guys that you get to go against in practice, now you're really getting ready for the season. And that's my opinion on it, right? But now you're getting ready for the season. Now you're finally matching up against other teams' best players. You can shut down Mike Evans in practice all you want, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to shut down Tyreek Hill. Right? And no, I'm not saying that Carlton Davis is shutting down Mike Evans, but what I'm saying is you just see these guys all too often. You see these guys literally every practice. You're matching up with them every single practice. So you know their tendencies. Do you know, like a Tyreek? Yeah, if you play the same teams, you know, like I'm sure. Well, maybe not Michael Thomas. That's probably bad. But you know, Michael Thomas is going to run a slant, right? We know that he is slant man. Michael Thomas is going to run a slant every single damn time. And that's realistically, like, that's his tendency. You think Marshawn Lattimore doesn't know that? Of course he knows that. Michael Thomas is a slant guy. Mike Evans is not a slant guy. So if you're Marshawn Lattimore and you get the matchup against Mike Evans, well, now I'm going to go against a guy who's got a different tendency, because you have the ability to kind of cheat off your player. The guy that you're defending, the guy that you're lined up across, you have the ability to cheat off of them, and your human nature is more likely going to be cheating off of your guy if he's your teammate, because you're not trying to hurt him. Right? You can't tell me that there's a single player on our Buccaneers defense that's like, man, I really want to rock Mike Evans today. No, nobody wants to hurt their teammate. So A, they're not going to hit you as hard. B, they're probably not going to jam you as hard. And C, they know exactly what your moves are. They don't need to watch game film on you. This Buccaneers secondary watches game film on the upcoming opponents. The Buccaneers secondary does not watch game film on what the Buccaneers wide receivers are doing, because they see it every day in practice. And that, to me, is just it's not something that you have to worry about. One thing that I really did like is seeing the chemistry between Julio Jones and Tom Brady. Now, I don't know if this is just like a veteran kinship between the two, but it seems like they have already played together for a decent period of time. And that to me is scary. And I'm almost to the point where I'm kind of reconsidering what my projections for Julio Jones were. I know he's going to go over 550 yards. We talked about that in the rapid fire player props portion. When was that? Yesterday? Maybe Monday. But we talked about that the other day. And 550 yards, I think, is too low for Julio Jones. And look, seeing the chemistry that he already has, if he can stay healthy, the league better watch out. Because if anybody, I said this literally the day that they signed, the day after they signed, when we did Channelside in the morning. If anybody can find anything left in a player's tank, it's Tom Brady. If Julio Jones has anything left in the tank, Tom Brady is going to find it, and he is going to put a light to the gasoline that's in that tank, and he's going to blow it up. And Julio Jones realistically could be a wide receiver one if he could stay healthy, which to me puts them in a better position than even when they had Antonio Brown. Is Antonio Brown quick? Yeah, Antonio Brown is quicker. He's more agile. He's more elusive. Well, Julio Jones has never been like a quick agility guy. Julio Jones is like a Calvin Johnson. He's just better than you. He's taller than you. He's longer than you. And his ability to climb the ladder is better than yours. And that's what you get with Julio Jones. And Tom Brady's already finding that out, as we saw yesterday. I think that was the Buccaneers play of the day. Go to their social media pages. Play of the day. Deep bomb from Tom Brady to Julio Jones. Man, the league better watch. I'm telling you right now, the league seriously needs to watch out, because you're about to have a problem. And you know what? This is where it all ties together. You could have Julio Jones performing as a wide receiver one. This is hypothetical. You could have Julio Jones matching up with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You've got like a 1A, B, and C at that point. There's no other teams in the NFL that have that. If you don't address the issue that you have at center in terms of the depth, and Robert Hainsey goes down, whether it's cramps, whether he gets rolled up on and tweaks an ankle and he's able to walk it off after a quarter or two. If Robert Hainsey goes down and you've got literally not a single player with any, and this is your problem here. If there's not a single player with any experience in an NFL game at center, which is the most important position on that offensive line, possibly outside of the blind spot, you better watch out. Because that one ABC that the Buccaneers possibly could have, that could vanish in a blink of an eye, because now you've got, who's going to play center if Robert Hainsey goes down? That's the issue. As we continue to truck along here, look, you know how we do it here. I said at the open, we talk about what you're talking about because we're fans. And I like talking about these things too. Teams with Super Bowl wins, and obviously these are emoji based, and I'm okay with that. If your team has won a Super Bowl and you are in the last 10-year bracket, hell, even the last 20 years is kind of tough. But if you're in the last 10 years, puff your chest out. Seriously. You could puff your chest out if you've won a Super Bowl in the last 10 years, in my opinion, if you're a fan. And obviously, You may know where I'm going with this because this is also another huge, huge conversation that fans are having. Let me tell you something here, though. If you are in the last 20 years, is kind of on the cusp for me. Packers, Saints, Steelers, Colts. It's kind of on the cusp for me. Some of the fans have not even been. Look, some of these guys that are over here with their Twitter fingers are like, you weren't even alive 20 years ago when you saw the Saints, like when the Saints won the Super Bowl. Like, come on, guys. But if you are in the last 30 years and down, shut up. You seriously, shut up. And I'm talking to Cowboys fans because holy crap, Cowboy fans. Are you really telling me that you haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 years? The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, I think I was 6. And that to me is a very, very long time ago. But you're still talking and you're still running your mouth thinking that look, it's been 30 years. I'm not worried about Dolphins fans. Dolphins fans are weird. Dolphins fans talk crap about their own team. They don't talk crap about other teams, maybe outside of the Jets, but they don't talk crap about other teams. The Jets in the last 60 years, and look, the Jets' one Super Bowl win that they have is the only reason Joe Namath is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then, of course, if you're in never, I'm kind of in never as well. But if your team is listed in never, you need to STFU. Don't talk anymore. You're over. You can't talk anymore. Evan, if you're looking at a team, where is your cutoff for teams that can kind of puff their chest? I'm on the cusp of the 20 years. I'm on the cusp, but the 10 years I'm fine with. If you're a fan of any of the teams in that 10-year bracket and you want to talk smack, please, by all means, go ahead.
I think the only team that what I would talk smack about would be the Eagles. So,
you think it was a win?
Well, I mean, yeah, I think the cutoff is 20 years because I mean, listen, you had that graphic up yesterday about the most annoying fans, and 2 of the teams in the last 30 years are in that list. I'm surprised that the Washington Commanders even have fans still. So, the Dallas Cowboys, like every single year, they try to puff out their chest like they're going to win the Super Bowl, and they just fall flat in their damn faces.
Right. I mean, yeah, the Eagles at number 1. I don't know if I have an issue with Eagles fans in terms of being fans.
I do.
Philadelphia people are.
Listen, Danny, when you have fans that punch horses and
throw snowballs at Santa
and eat their own feces, that takes the number 1 spot by far. Now, of course, Patriots fans they could be semi-racist here and there. We've heard racism coming from Boston Red Sox fans all the way to New England Patriots fans.
Yeah, and LeBron hates playing. He's on record saying that. I hate playing Boston because they're racist.
He hates playing at the Garden. So the top 3 are rightfully in their places. Now, I would kind of maybe have a tie for first place with Dallas and Philly because the Cowboys are just annoying fans that think they can win it every single year, and they always puff out their chest like, "Oh, we've won 3 titles." You haven't won a title in 30 years. You haven't won a playoff game in God knows how many years.
Right.
Like, so quit clinging to the past. They're almost up there with like the Yankees fans. Like, we've won 27 championships. Congratulations. So yeah, I would. The top 3 is rightfully so. I don't know why Green Bay is up there because I remember when Tampa played the Packers in the National League Championship. Me and my co-host at the time, we were at Rafferty's Bar and Grill, shameless plug for them, down Sarasota watching the game, and the Packers fan. There was a lot of Packers fans there, and as Tampa was really beating the snot out of Green Bay, They were really nice. They were really gracious, and they took the loss well. And those Packers fans were really nice. I mean, so I don't know why Green Bay is up there. I don't know.
I can tell you what, Green Bay is up there because every single year and a lot of this has to do with the media, in my opinion. I think Green Bay is up there because the media always continues to do nothing but pump up the all they're doing is just pumping up the Packers every single year. Right. Oh, they're gonna be great. They're gonna be great. They're gonna be great. And Aaron Rodgers, yeah, cool. You win all of these MVP awards, but you guys always choke in the playoffs. And I think for me, that's realistically where it comes down. And you go, yeah,
Danny, I think
super annoying.
I think my biggest question is why is Tampa Bay up there? Is it because is it the Tom Brady effect? Is that why?
I think it has to be.
Okay.
And you know what though? Maybe it could be a trickling over of the New England Patriots fans that followed Tom Brady.
That could be a factor too. But they're kind of high in the list. I mean,
yeah, number 9.
I think it has to be the Tom Brady effect because now we're a winning, a franchise ever since Brady got into town, and then you're taking some of those New England Patriot fans who love Tom Brady to death, and now they're Bucs fans too. So yeah, I can see that. But I mean, as an annoying fan base, I mean, no. I mean, we have our moments, but come on.
I mean, I think, look, if this poll ran in 2019 on Jameis Winston's last season, the Buccaneers aren't on this list at all.
Right. I totally agree with that.
Because and this kind of goes hand in hand with all of these guys being underrated.
Right.
Mike Evans tied Randy Moss's record with a plethora of not great quarterbacks. Right. You then talk about, okay, and then Tom Brady is here, and all of a sudden it's, wow, look at Mike Evans go. He's got 7 straight. He's got 8 straight. Will he go for 9? And you're like, well, I don't know. It's just weird to me.
So I did a little, speaking of Mike Evans, so I did a little, I've been doing some prep for my fantasy drafts coming up later this month. And I picked up RotoWire's fantasy football kind of like, guide or whatever for this year's draft. I always do that every single year. That way I can get some insider information and see where my drafts, stock could be. And
sure.
one of the articles in RotoWire was Mike Evans is a undervalued wide receiver.
I think he is an undervalued wide receiver, but you have to also take into consideration that he's not the only solid wide receiver there.
Right.
So
now that he's not.
Right. Well, and and I talked about this earlier in the show, is that the chemistry that Tom Brady and Julio Jones have is ridiculous.
I definitely agree. And it's gonna show itself when the regular season comes. I'm actually looking forward to this connection that they could possibly have. Now,
yeah.
If you're in fantasy, where are you drafting Julio Jones?
I don't think I'm drafting Julio Jones.
Ooh.
I might draft Julio Jones to stash him because, look, here's the thing: is I think that Julio Jones actually winds up on waivers in a lot of leagues, and just doesn't go drafted.
I can see him being a late round pickup or a waiver stash if he's on there. But I think people are going to be drafting him more than you think, but they'll be drafting him late.
Right.
And that's only because of the injuries, the hamstrings and the leg injuries. So, but yeah, going back to the most annoying fans, the top 3 is rightfully so.
I don't know if they're in the right order, though. I think Cowboys fans got to be number 1.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Cowboys. I would say Cowboys 1, Eagles 2, and then New England 3.
I don't know if the New England fans are problems anymore, though.
They aren't because
they suck now.
Yeah, they're back to mediocrity. There's no Tom Brady there. Bill Belichick is pretty much, I would say, on his way out. This could be the last year you see Belichick, and then they'll make a change, and then they'll be back to the mediocrity that New England was a long time ago before Brady came in.
Roy in the chat says that he
Roy's
talks about
blowing it up in the chat.
Roy's not even his name. But look, you have to take that into consideration. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the process of elimination here, and I'm trying to figure out who is the guy who created this. Who is he a fan of? And I'm trying to figure that out.
That's what I want to know, because I want to hear his like factoring in of how he ranked each team's.
Because you've got the entire NFC East in there. And I'm not saying that I disagree with that, because I think the Commanders fans are weird, because we see that all the time. Hell, they still do the HTTR hashtag.
I'm surprised that Washington still has fans.
I mean, they don't put together good football. They've got good pieces. Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin, Carson Wentz is their quarterback now, but Carson Wentz has looked like Kyle Trask in training camp this season.
Carson Wentz is now almost he's going to be a lifetime backup. He will lose his job to Heineke probably midway through the season.
I think that was the reason why they brought Carson Wentz in, was to kind of light that fire under Heineke, because you've seen glimpses of what Heineke can do, and you go, okay, this guy actually could be pretty decent.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was really surprised they would go out and get Carson, because Heineke has such a rapport with that offense, and I know the guys like him in the locker room. That's why going after Carson Wentz was kind of a head scratcher. Maybe he was to light a fire under Taylor's or his booty, but other than that, I thought the Commanders would go with Heineke going forward as their number one, because Carson Wentz to me is, after the failure in Indianapolis, you're not going to see him like as a backup role from now on. After the season, he won't be the starter.
And here's the thing for Colts fans, or just fans of Carson Wentz in general, when you go, yeah, but it's a team game. Carson Wentz had more errant throws in that final game against the Jaguars that they should have very easily won. He had more errant throws in that game than any other quarterback the entire season in any game. He had more off-target misses than any quarterback.
But hey, it's Carson Wentz.
Right, but like he's the reason why you guys missed the playoffs. That's what I'm going. you didn't like. Sure, the defense stumbled, right? Sure, and you can say the same thing about, people will say that about the Bills and the Chiefs game in the playoffs. Well, it was the Bills defense. It's one play. Josh Allen was setting the league on fire. Josh Allen was making He was making history in the playoffs. He didn't get to play in overtime. But Carson Wentz was the sole reason why you did not make the playoffs.
I mean, you had one job to do, and that was to win against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you couldn't do that.
Right.
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. Jesus Christ. Team to watch out for this season, in my opinion. But hey, thank you if you're tuning in on the Twitter channel over here. Hop in the chat. We got Roy blowing me up, talking about my Lions fandom. But
look, I have an affinity. I have a respect for you and your Lions fandom, because after watching the first episode of Hard Knocks, I was like, dude, this is gonna be fun to watch. Dan Campbell is the man, dude.
40 up downs?
Like, that's insane, bro.
Could you imagine Bruce Arians doing 40 up downs?
Bruce Arians could probably do maybe a half.
Bruce Arians would do one of them, and then he'd light a cigar while he's on the ground and not get back up and just be like,
he would get down, and then he'd be like, no, I'm done. And then he would just be back up with a cigar in his mouth.
Yeah.
That's what would happen. Definitely would happen. But yeah, watching that episode was pure entertainment throughout the whole episode, especially when the Billie Jean sing-along happened. That was great.
Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson Agent Hutchinson's going to be. You better watch out for him.
It was really cool. They're like, say your name, what school you went to, and then your signing bonus. And when he said the $23 million, everybody went, "Oh!" That was pretty funny. And then it was crazy, because once they started going to the Billie Jean thing, like, I was getting hyped up by them.
Did you try to moonwalk?
No, I did. I tried to do the robot, but it was unsuccessful at the time. But like it got me hyped up at like 10:30 at night. I was like, man, this is like hyping me up.
That's because we're white.
I know that's true.
Well, and it's funny because like when we look at these are the top offseason acquisitions that Fox Sports put out, and somebody like and this is I'm going to kind of tie it into the Lions because there's some big names on here, right?
Definitely big names.
But if I'm looking at somebody like, and I know, like I said, this is going to be a very not unpopular opinion. If you look at somebody like a DJ Chark that the Detroit Lions brought in from Jacksonville, every season that DJ Chark was in Jacksonville, what were people saying about him? This is going to be his year. This is going to be the year. DJ Chark's going to break out. But the problem was that the Jags never had anybody. The Jags didn't have anybody that they could pair around him. The quarterback was always a question mark. Then the coach became a question mark. Like there's so many issues with Jacksonville that it just never panned out.
The coach became a problem. I would say a question mark.
Yeah, the coach became field goals with people's legs. Like, God damn it, Urban Meyer. Like, but look, I'm not saying that he's going to be a better. I'm not saying he's going to be a better acquisition than any of the guys listed here, but him not being on there, I think, is an issue for me.
You know what, Danny? Let's play a game. Let's go row by row. Who is going to be the best offseason addition out of these rows? So let's go row one.
Ooh.
Best offseason addition out of this row.
Can I say outside of Russell Wilson?
No, you cannot.
Because I think Russell Wilson is by far going to be the best acquisition.
Okay, we're going to go row by row. Okay, and then second row out of this row.
Well, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Tyreek.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Tyreek. Because Russ is kind of like a no-brainer, but like with what Tyreek brings to Miami with that another weapon for Tua to utilize. Now we saw the other day at Bucs-Dolphins joint practice that Tyreek was getting manhandled by Donovan Smith. So, that might be a problem for Tyreek. But I think with the acquisition of him, it's going to help out Tua with the way he can spread the ball around because, I mean, obviously he has Waddle, but now you bring in probably the fastest guy in the league. You have two of the fastest receivers on your roster now. That's going to hopefully help Tua with his development and also being a quarterback when it comes to slinging the rock around. So I would say Tyreek Hill for that row. So row number 2, who do you got? This one's a little bit more interesting because you've got three almost has-been quarterbacks.
Right.
Allen Robinson is, I think, somewhat overvalued because I know there's a lot of hype with him going to LA, but I mean, with the quarterback situation he had over in Chicago, I mean, he had like 1 or 2 good seasons, and now Matt Ryan's in Indianapolis, where Matt Ryan is pretty much set up for success on that team. So
I totally agree because they were look, the Indianapolis Colts were essentially the same thing as the Denver Broncos were. They were a quarterback away from being a contender.
Right.
I mean, I think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be a great wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
T.Y. Hilton, if he can stay healthy, T.Y. Hilton is an absolute burner. Doesn't matter how old he gets, he is still burning players down the field on go routes. And Matt Ryan can still chuck it.
Yep. And then you still got that number 1 running back in the league, Jonathan Taylor, in the backfield.
Exactly.
The rock off to. So you have a run game now.
I think the obvious choice is Khalil Mack, right?
So I was gonna say that, Danny, but I'm looking at Khalil Mack as
it's Drew Lock, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Drew. No, I was gonna say Mack because he brings an extra force to the already tough LA Charger defense, but Mack has been injury prone the past couple of seasons, so he's not Mack of the shiny new toy that came out of college that was just manhandling people on Chicago's defense.
Right.
I would say he's going to be an impact player on that team, but looking at this row, it has to be Matt Ryan because he's just set up for success with that team because they have a great offensive line, a great running back, and then he's got weapons to throw to. Allen Robinson now is in question because of Matthew Stafford's elbow. because if Matthew Stafford's elbow has to go underneath the knife, that LA screwed.
Yeah, you really are at that point, because it doesn't matter who. I don't even know who the backup quarterback is for the Rams.
Yeah, I don't even know who the backups are.
That's problematic. I mean, this is the guy that won the Super Bowl for you last year.
Right. And you paid him all that money to come over. Well, you traded him. I'm sorry. You traded him, and then they gave him an extension. But the biggest thing is that it's what they were saying. What Sean McVay was saying about his elbow was it's almost like a pitcher with, elbow problems. Well, to me, if a pitcher has somewhat elbow problems, you have to put him on. You have to give him Tommy John surgery, and then you're out for at least a year and a half, almost 2 years. And for a quarterback, especially at his age, that's pretty much the end of your career if that's what happened. If that's what's happened.
I'm totally with you.
All right, so
third row.
Third row. See, this is an interesting one because I think the defensive players really outshine the two offensive guys on here. Because Amari Cooper and Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, to me, are not going to be the most impactful guys on the team.
And Hollywood Brown is going to miss some time anyway.
Yeah,
criminal speeding.
Right, exactly.
Slow down, bro.
So I'm looking at Von Miller, Chandler Jones, and J.C. Jackson and Tyrann Mathieu. To me, I would say, and I was going to say the Honey Badger, but I hate the Saints. I'm going with J.C. Jackson. He's a shutdown corner, a great acquisition that they got in free agency. He came over from New England. I think J.C. Jackson's is, and once again, we're talking about LA's, defense. Like they're Khalil Mack. You're getting J.C. Jackson. Like that's to me is going to help. I think he's going to help out more than Khalil Mack is. J.C. Jackson is.
And I think that J.C. Jackson is going to help Khalil Mack.
Yes.
Right? Because now if you're Khalil Mack, you don't necessarily have to look behind you.
Right.
You only need to look in front of you because now you've got the secondary in LA for the Chargers side anyway is just, oh, hell, the Rams. All of the secondaries in Los Angeles are ridiculous.
Now that there was, there's reports about Stafford's elbow, and I thought the NFC West was going to be like that division because it was somewhat stacked, but now it's almost as if it's becoming that. It's almost looking like an NFC South type division because Seattle is, Seattle is kind of like in rebuilding mode. San Fran, you're getting your quarterback situation is Trey Lance, but Trey Lance I think is going to be overhyped. The Rams are in question now because of Stafford. And then, the Cardinals could win the division, but we all know what they can do in the second half is they take a nosedive.
Every single season. So, that division that was looking so tough is now looking almost like an NFC East, NFC South. Yeah.
Me.
I'm totally with you.
Okay.
I'm definitely with you because I feel like, John Lynch can say whatever he wants. He said, I think it was Tuesday, said that Trey Lance is everything we hoped he would be and then more. And that's great.
Look, prove me wrong. I don't know why everybody's so high on him. I really don't. I don't see a superstar waiting to happen. Now, maybe it's because I haven't seen like a lot of him, I've only seen a sample size, and that sample size wasn't all that great.
Right.
But I just don't see it. And I don't know why everybody, like fantasy football wise, everybody's high on Trey Lance, like drafting him in dynasty leagues. I'm like, I don't see it. Like, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong this year.
Right.
I would love for them to prove me wrong, but I honestly, they should keep Jimmy G for the time being. I mean, I think they are until they find somebody that will trade for him. But you need to have Jimmy G start, not Trey Lance.
I totally agree with you. I think that you're setting yourself if he's healthy, right? Obviously, if he's not healthy, then there's nothing that you can do about it. Then you're rolling Trey Lance, but you've got to be cognizant about that about your quarterback position because outside of center, that's arguably your most valuable and your most important position.
Right.
All right. I'm glad that you're here for this part. I'm giving the Rays their 2-week notice, Evan.
Wow, really?
Yes. I'm giving them their 2 week and look, I'm not giving them their 2-week notice because I'm giving up on them, but I'm giving them their 2-week notice because these next 14 games, in my opinion, are absolutely make or break for this team. If obviously they dropped both games to the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yesterday's game was just, come on, man. And to get walked off by former Ray Willie Adames was even like more like turning the wooden spoon. The insult to injury. Yeah.
Pouring salt on the old wound. But look, now
like
the Mariners have won 2 straight.
Like getting stabbed with a wooden spoon.
Right.
The
Mariners are now a game and a half up in the second spot. Right? It was yesterday they were tied.
We're now tied with the Orioles for that last wild card spot. And
for being out of the wild card.
That's right. And guess who's coming into town this weekend? The Orioles, which I said this on Monday, is the next few games, especially this. I tweeted this out. This next series is going to be one of the tough. Like it's a make or break series with this team, because now you're
4.
Yeah. Well, I think the overall the next month and a half is. I wouldn't put the 2 weeks notice in just yet, Danny, because I think with this team, we see them do so many peaks and valleys. Is where are you going to have your peaks and where are you going to have your valleys? You know what I mean? And I think an important series this weekend against the Orioles is going to be so important. To me, I think nothing less than a sweep needs to happen. And we talked about this the other day on the show. Is you're going to now they really need help from other teams to really kind of make this thing, because now that you're in such a tight race now for the wild card, you're really going to have other teams lose in your favor.
Well, especially, and here, like I said, here's what the 2-week notice is: the next 14 games, they've got the Orioles, the Yankees, the Royals, and the Angels. And with as consistent as the inconsistencies this team has had, it's literally a coin toss as to how they're going to play in each of these games. You've got to come out winning at least 10 of these games. You've got to go 10-4. And if you don't, I think you're going to be too far gone and you're going to fall down, because
where are we at for percentage wise for them to make the playoffs? Has it gone down again?
You know what? Probably has. Let's take a quick peek here. I would assume that, a 2-game skid is not going to be good. The Rays are currently at 45.8%.
Okay.
It actually hasn't updated at all since yesterday. I would assume that number is lower. You can't lose 2 games. Like, you can't go from being tied in the wild card slot to losing 2 games and then going, okay, well, yeah, it's the same percentage. You can't tell me that. But these next 4 series, Evan, I think they're make or break. And if you lose more games than you're going to win, that AL wild card race is too tight. For some reason, the Blue Jays created such a nice, comfortable cushion that it doesn't matter. They lost 2 in a row, but they're still 2 games up. And It doesn't matter. So I don't think that first wild card slot is open. I think that is sewed up as the Blue Jays, because they've got a cakewalk to close the season.
Yeah, and their lead is what? Almost 2 games now?
Yeah, it's 2 games. And it's been 2 games, and they're on a 2-game skid right now.
Yeah, this is a tough conundrum for me, because you can make up 2 games. You definitely can. I mean, you can make up 2 games this weekend, but you're going to need the Rays the Blue Jays to lose. Yeah, man. As the weeks get tighter and tighter, we're halfway through August right now. In September, the gauntlet is right around the corner. I'm just more and more like the way they lost yesterday. It annoyed me, but it was almost like I took a deep sigh and was like, well, this has been this team this year. That's how they've been losing this year. Is giving up leads and just losing in extras and just losing like that overall.
Yeah.
And it didn't surprise me at all. And it's not going to surprise me that this weekend, that when Brett Phillips comes back in the town, Brett Phillips is going to have a type moment like that to beat the Rays in maybe one of the games. Because they're gonna cart him out there to face his former team.
They have to.
But yeah, I just going forward, and I wouldn't put the 2 weeks on him to the 2 weeks notice yet. I want to see how they do the rest of August. If they're not above 500 by the end of August, then you're going to have to start to worry, because the gauntlet is right around the corner.
Well, and that's why I'm where I am. They're 6 games above 500 right now. You're heading in. You've only got you've only got in the back half of these 2 weeks are the only 2 series that you have remaining against teams that are lower than 500. You got a 4-game series against both of these teams, against the Royals and the Angels. You've got to sweep those.
Right.
And if you don't sweep those, I think that I'm not going to say that their season is over completely, but I think that that is going to put them in a position that might be insurmountable at that point because this AL wildcard race is too tight.
Tight like a drum set.
Right.
Tight like a tiger.
We've got 6 teams that are all within 3 games.
I would say this weekend they take 2 out of the 3 against Baltimore. The Yankee series, I don't know, man. I don't know. Although the Yankees have been on a skid lately, so I don't. It could be a series that if the Rays, come off of a winning series against the Orioles, it could give the Yankees some trouble.
Yeah,
but it's just
you gotta watch out because, like I said, it's I think we're like 67 episodes into Channelside in the morning, and the one consistent through all 67 episodes is where's the consistency?
Hey, we've been consistent.
Right. But where's the consistency between the Tampa Bay Rays? Where has that been? It's not been there. And that's what makes it. That's what makes for me. That's the bottom line when it comes to the 2-week notice is if you can't get some sort of consistency and win the games you're supposed to win, you should beat the Orioles. You should win that series. You could lose the Yankees series, whatever, because you should win 8 straight against the Royals and the Angels.
You said our percentage is what, 46%?
45-8.
45. Okay. Do you agree with that, or do you think it should be lower or higher?
I think it should be lower.
Okay. How lower?
39 currently.
Okay. I was going to say 35.
I think well, we'll see what happens on Monday, though.
That's true.
I mean, because that could be it. If the Rays play like the Rays have been playing, we could be talking about a 30% chance.
You know what's crazy about the Orioles too? They're still in this, and they traded away their like best player, their cornerstone of their franchise, Trey Mancini, and they're still in it.
Yep,
it's crazy to me.
They're on a 2-game winning streak. They're 7-3 over the last 10.
And what did the Rays do?
Nothing. Sat on their hands. Then, come on, guys.
I mean, maybe they're looking towards next season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I want to wrap this up fun though because I'm getting depressed. Ben Verlander's top 5 baseball movies.
Whoa, hold on. I already have issues.
1 and 2.
Major League 2?
Right.
No, that's a terrible movie.
At number 3?
No, that's terrible. No, that is a terrible, terrible baseball movie. That movie suffers from the sequel-itis so much. You don't have 8 Men Out in this top 5. You don't have Little Big League on this. You don't have The Rookie. You don't have what's that one?
I would put Rookie of the Year over Major League 2.
I would too. I would put Rookie of the Year in the number 3 slot. Actually, you know what? I would move The Sandlot up to number 3. Put Rookie. I would put Rookie of the Year number 5. Bull Durham is going to be at number 2. I'm not really much of a fan of Field of Dreams.
I'm not a Field of Dreams fan either. I think that somewhere in my top 5 has to be A League of Their Own. I think that's a fantastic movie.
It's a great movie. I don't know about if it's in the top 5 though. But like if you rejumble this, now obviously a lot of people are going to say Bull Durham is number 1. But to me, Major League kind of encapsulates. Major League has so many quotable, like Major League and Bull Durham have so many quotable lines. It's ridiculous. But Major League is so much funnier. I would say for me, my top 5 would be Major League number 1, Bull Durham number 2, Sandlot number 3, Rookie of the Year 4, and then 5. Yeah, number 5 is a tough one. I don't know. Maybe A League of Their Own would be number 5 for me.
What about Moneyball?
I forgot about Moneyball. Take League of Their Own out. Moneyball. Actually, yeah, take Field of Dreams out. Moneyball will be in there too as well.
Yeah, I think for me it would be Major League, Bull Durham. I would put A League of Their Own number 3 for me. Sandlot and then Moneyball.
Yeah, I can agree. Well, yeah, I would put League of Their Own a little bit lower than that for me, but I would put Moneyball in there definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I feel like Field of Dreams just gets like that. It's like that nostalgic thing, right?
No, to me, it's overrated, man. It's too like sappy. It tries to be too ahead of itself. It's a movie that tries to be the perfect movie, but it has so many like, okay, we get it, man. It's to me, it's too much of a. It's overrated, man.
I'm with you.
I'm overrated on that. If you build it, they will come. Yeah, stop talking to me. Like, we get it. I'm going to build you a baseball field in the corners.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like the Sixth Sense for baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. That's going to do it for us on this Thursday edition of Channelside in the Morning, live from the Channelside Sports Network. Thank you for everybody tuning. We got up to 12 viewers at one point live on Twitter.
Hey, bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill.
Right. Make sure you search for us on the Channelside Sports Network on all of our social media platforms. And just remember, folks, there's only one original digital sports brand in Tampa Bay, and you're locked in right now to the Channelside Sports Network. We've got a good tagline. We got a good promo coming. We got a Charles Belay promo coming out later this afternoon. Really? I'm freaking stoked. Can't wait for it.
All right.
Thanks for everybody that tuned in. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If this was your first time tuning in, hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hop in the chat next time. We'll chop it up and we'll make it happen. We will see you tomorrow for a Hot Take Friday edition of Channelside in the Morning. I am Danny. That is Evan. See ya.
We got